He says, when you come searching for me, when you come looking for me, you will find me. Not you may find me, not I hope you'll. And today, I'm going to invite you to really think about what it is that you're searching for today. And maybe as you say that in your head, maybe that can become a prayer, and asking God to reveal whatever it is that you need today. So I'm going to invite you to stand with us. And as you think about that, as you pray over that, we're going to sing this song. It's called I Will Search for You, and I will find you, and I'll find you with all of my heart. So let's sing this, church.
How precious, how lovely are your thoughts, O Lord, towards me. How truly amazing.
that you have promised us that when we search for you, we will find you. And Lord, whatever it is that we are searching for today, I pray that you will reveal to us how you fill each and every one of those needs. Lord, if we've come here looking for connection, may we connect with someone before we leave today. If we've come here looking for prayer, may we pray with someone before we leave today. I just pray that you be with us as we now open our minds and our hearts to a message from you. So may you reveal yourself to us now. In your name we pray. Amen.
Good morning. Good morning. Wow. Thank you, Lynn. It's good to be here. Good to see you all. Just a little disclaimer. I haven't preached for a while, so I'm a bit rusty. All right. So, our beautiful sermons, they just line up beautifully, and they make sense, and they land, and it's like a drop the mic moment at the end, and it's just boom. I hope I don't know if you'll get that today, but I'll try my best. All right. So anyway, who am I? I know our church is changing all the time, so I should introduce myself. My name is Karl Saifoloi. I had the privilege of being on staff at this church for, was it 10 years? 12. Was it 12? For 12 years. And that was amazing. So saw a lot of miracles in that time, and maybe I'll share a couple of those with you this morning. But that's me. I am married to Karen, and we have 5 grandchildren. 5. That come from 3 children. So my 3 children are Leah, who was up here before, and leading us in worship. And then I have another daughter over here, that's Hannah. And my son is in Wellington with his partner and their little Mason. And so that's my family. This is my mum and dad. I'm here, Lloyd and Alice. The funny thing about mum and dad, wherever I go, people come up to me and say, "Oh, we just saw your mum and dad." And I'm like, "What?" And the other day, somebody said to me, "Oh, they're from Hamilton." And they said, "We just saw your mum and dad." I'm like, "What?" Mum and dad get around a lot. But this is mum and dad, and it's really nice to have them here today. And thank you. I just want to big ups to Bethesda. They're an awesome crowd. We had a family meeting at Bethesda. When you get called into a family meeting, it's because there's a problem with your mum and dad. And so we had this family meeting, and the lady was a little bit upset. I think she thought that dad was upsetting some of the nurses. And anyway, my dad is really smooth. I was really impressed. So this lady's telling about, we have to sort a few things out, and then she says, "What have you got to say, Lloyd, for yourself," sort of thing. And old dad, he just goes, "I just want to say that I love everybody here." Well, that was it. Telling off was over, and I thought, "Man, Dad, you're smooth." That's us. That's kind of our life, and I'm just happy to be here this morning. So anyway, I was thinking about what to talk about, and to be honest, Karen, I only started thinking about it on Tuesday, and I'm at university. Yeah, I decided at the ripe old age of 55, I better go and learn something. I certainly wasn't ready when I was 15, so I thought, well, I'll try now. So that's what I'm doing. And so I've been at, last weekend was down at Massey, Palmerston North, going to lectures and stuff like that. And so my head was just full of stuff. And then I got home and I thought, I'm preaching. So on Monday, I thought, I'm just going to sleep. And then on Tuesday, I thought, yep, now I better panic. So on Tuesday, I thought, what am I going to speak to people about? See, this is the big thing if you're going to stand in front of people and say stuff. I mean, what am I going to say to people that will hopefully be beneficial, to them? The funny thing is, when you do that and you ask yourself that question and you start searching, you know the song Searching? And you start searching, you actually find something that benefits you personally. And so hopefully what today is me bringing to you something that has benefited me personally since Tuesday, and hopefully it benefits you. So I was flicking through all these books, I was going, man, should I just rehash an old sermon or something like that? No, God didn't seem to be saying you should do that. So it has to be something different, something new. So I found this book, and it's called God Was Here the Whole Time and I Never Knew It. And I thought, well, that's an interesting book. And then I looked at who the authors were. Well, it is the reflection of 7 rabbis on one verse in the Bible, Genesis 28, verse 16. 7 rabbis talking about one verse, and they write a whole book on it. So I don't know what possessed me to start reading, because when you start reading rabbinic stuff, so anyway, if you don't know what a rabbi is a Jewish kind of all-knowing theologian, but theologian times 100. Rabbis, by the age of 12, are able to memorize the whole of the Old Testament off by heart, by 12, forwards and backwards by 12. These guys are gifted. And the reason they memorize it forwards and backwards is so that whenever there's a conversation about God, they draw on everything that they know from Torah, from the poetry, from everything. So their theology is so deep. And they come up with what they call midrashes. And midrashes are things that fill in the gaps in the Bible. You know, there's lots of gaps in the Bible, just in case. Which is why it's really dangerous to be so literal about everything you read, because there's lots of gaps. And these rabbis fill in the gaps. And they get followers based on how they fill those gaps in. So here's 7 rabbis commenting on one verse. And you know what happened to me while I was reading this? Have you heard that saying, you go down a rabbit hole? I started going down this rabbinic, mystic, Jewish rabbit hole, and I got to my 3rd rabbi and I couldn't handle it anymore. I had to come back up out of that rabbit hole because it's so, and I couldn't sleep, and this mystic stuff was rolling around in my head, what these guys had discovered just by reading the Old Testament. One verse. So, I'm going to try and share stuff with you that I learned that was really revealing to me. Strap in, put your seatbelts on. I'll try and not break the speed limit. And let's see where we end up. I'd like to start by drawing this. Can everybody see that? It's just an X, all right? And a few years ago, we came up with this kind of way of trying to conceptualize what it means to know God, what it means to try and know God. And this was a really simple way that we kind of thought, well, we think this works. And what this depicts is when I start a journey with God, anybody here kind of searching for God? When you start that search, you start up here, and God is down there. In other words, you start the search for God full of yourself. I hope that's not too blunt. But we start this search for God full of ourselves, and at this point of the start of this journey, we're the furthest from God. But what happens as you go through your journey with God is you have a transformative moment where something happens in your life and the light comes on and you realize something. And at that place, a lot of people get baptized at that point. They go, wow. They might say something like, God was here the whole time and I never knew it. And people get baptized at this point, and from here on in, the roles swap. God becomes uppermost, and me, or another name for me is my ego, becomes subjugated like this. Paul calls this the downward journey of self-sacrifice. When you're at this point here in your journey, you think God's not there. Some of us go, I don't need God. I don't. I'm pretty gifted, pretty talented, and I've got lots of things that I need in this world to survive. I kind of don't really need God. That's at this point. That doesn't mean God's not there. It just means that you can't see him. So, a lot of people think, if I'm here, this is where I'm really sinful, and God is waiting for me over here. So I've got to get to there, and the reason I'm going to get baptized is so that I can enter into this part of the equation. Wrong. Well, I think it's wrong. I think what the Bible clearly teaches is that God is here the whole time. The difference is, when you're here, you are unaware of his presence, but over here, you become aware. It's like being in this room and closing my eyes and going, it's dark in here. It's not dark, because my eyes are closed. All right. So just keep that in mind as we sort of journey through the message today. Genesis 28, verse 10 to 16 is the story of Jacob. Jacob is this guy who deceived his whole whānau and basically is now on the run because some of his whānau are trying to kill him because he deceived them. So this is Jacob on the run, and he lands in this place called Bethel, and there's debate about that, but anyway, he lands in this place called Bethel, and he puts his head down to sleep, and he has a dream. So let me read for you. Thank you, Kelly, for your phone, because I left mine in the car. Here we go. And Jacob went, this is from verse 10 in Genesis chapter 28. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and stayed there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillows and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed and beheld a ladder set up on earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac, the land whereupon thou liest. To thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. We're now discovering that Keely reads the King James Version. It's really cool. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land, for I will not leave thee, until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Jacob awakened out of his sleep, and he said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. In the Talmud, which is the original Hebrew, the verse goes more like this. Surely God was in this place, and I, big I, little I, never knew. Surely God was in this place, and I never knew. That's the original way that it says it. And so I'm going to introduce to you 3 rabbis. So I couldn't do 7. 3 was enough. These 3 rabbis were born a couple of hundred years ago, lived in Poland, lived in Russia, lived in other places. Rabbi Yitzhaki, Rabbi Menzel, and Rabbi Ostropolo. And this book is these rabbis having a conversation with Jacob about that verse. It's an imaginary conversation, all right? So the book is like these rabbis talking to Jacob trying to understand what it was that he saw, and these rabbis suggesting, after centuries of interpretation, what it was that Jacob actually said. Rabbi Yitaki says this. He says, you know, Jacob, what you actually said was this. You actually said, if I had known God was here, I wouldn't have gone to sleep. All right? So the original says, surely God was in this place and I never knew it. Rabbi Yitaki says, you know what you actually said? What you actually said to yourself was, if I knew God was in this place, I wouldn't have gone to sleep. Another thing you probably said, Jacob, was, if I knew God was going to be here, I would have gone and slept somewhere else. If I knew God was going to be here, I would have slept somewhere else. And it reminded me of when I used to drink and smoke behind the train station in Christchurch in Papanui. I went and drank and smoked there because God doesn't hang out at train stations after midnight in Christchurch. He doesn't. God hangs out in church. That's where God hangs out. So Rabbi Rizaki would say to me, the reason you went there is because you had no idea that God was there. If you knew God was there, and it reminded me of what my mum used to say to me all the time, you know, God's watching, son. You know, if you knew God was there, you'd probably find another place. You'd probably find another place. Jacob reflects on this. And he says, if God was actually there in this desolate place, because I purposely was looking for a desolate place so I could hide. Anybody hiding here today? I was purposely looking for a desolate place so I could hide. But if God was in the desolate place, this desolate place, what other desolate places has he been? And I didn't know. This is from Rabbi Rizaki. And so we sum this up by saying, the beginning of knowing God is paying attention. The beginning of knowing God is paying attention to the fact that you might be unaware that God is where he is. Paying attention. Right, let's go to the next rabbi, shall we? The next rabbi says this. God can only be God when you are not. Okay, so the statement that he makes, remember, is surely God was in this place and I did not know. Rabbi Mendel says, Jacob, do you know what you're saying? And Jacob is like, well, I thought I did, but tell me, what am I saying? And Rabbi Mendel says this, what you're saying and what you're realizing is that in the kingdom, there's only place for one person on the seat of control. You see, Jacob, you've been trying to control everything. That's why you are here. You're here, you've ended up here because you've been trying to control everything. And if you want to know how it works in my kingdom, is that if you want to sit on the throne, you can sit on the throne. Just know that when you're on the throne, there's not enough room for me. There's not enough room for me. God can only be God when you are not. And this is about humility. You know, I've thought a lot about this word ego over the years. I think about it a lot because I've become aware that I have one. And I've always wondered, man, what is it, you know? And I've heard different conceptions of ego. I've heard that the ego it's like an overinflation of your opinion of yourself. An ego is like a balloon that has been blown up too high. It's been blown up too hard. What happens when you're watching someone blow up a balloon and you think it's past breaking point? Everybody starts cringing, right? Which is what happens when somebody walks into the room with a big ego. It was just, why do we all go, oh, like this? because we think what's going to happen is going to pop. Interestingly enough, and I know this, if you have an issue with your ego, you're easily offended. Anybody here easily offended? Harsh. I know this is harsh. I've just come off a marae, by the way, and they're really harsh on the marae. They just say it. It was really funny. We were standing outside the marae, and the lady who was leading us, the fire, she was like, kia ora everybody, we need to practice our waiata because we're going to do our pepeha and blah, 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 and then we're going to sing waiata. So let's practice. So she starts singing, Te aroha, and we're all there. There's about 40 of us, and we're like, Te aroha. And she's like, stop. And we're like, what? And she goes, did you know that it is impossible to sing when you're full of yourself? Did you know that it's impossible to sing when you're full of yourself? Well, we didn't know that, but we knew it now. And so, man, the next time that came around, we sang. And I think it's true. It's the same with dancing. It's impossible to dance when you're full of yourself. All these things that you need to do to be free. Impossible to do when you're full of yourself. So that was pretty harsh, but it was pretty true. And so this is what the ego is all about. God can only be God when you are not. It's about humility. If you want to know God, if you want to see God, humility. I had a conversation with a lawyer what's today, Saturday? Thursday? Wednesday. Yeah, just Wednesday. So this lawyer runs a successful practice in Ponsonby. And we were talking about one of the wonderful boys that I foster, and that was really cool. But then we started talking about just how to make New Zealand a better place. Well, I have heaps of ideas on that. I reckon I could solve it. No, I don't. But I have lots of... So we were having this invigorating conversation about how we could make New Zealand a better place. And then towards the end of that conversation, she said, she said, I think something made me come and talk to you today. And I said, why is that? She says, can I share something with you? I said, sure, go. So she's like, I'm coming to the end of my career. I've enjoyed it, wonderful. She said, I'm almost 60. And by that, I kind of deduced that she was 59. Good, eh? And I'm almost there, and I've had a wonderful career. And I was asked to head a royal inquiry. I mean, those are big deals. A royal commission of inquiry. Those are big deals. And I was kind of guessing which one that might be, and I think I know. And she said, for 2 years, I've been preparing to be the lead on this royal commission of inquiry. And just a few months ago, I was told that they didn't want me anymore. And she said, I am devastated. This was going to be my big last hurrah, my big contribution to New Zealand to lead this Royal Commission. And a couple of months ago, they said they didn't need me anymore. And she said, I'm devastated. She said, but in our conversation, I figured something out. That was really bad. I've been viewing that as really bad. But actually, the things that come to us that we say are bad or sorrowful are actually gifts that we're given so that we can turn bad into good. She said, I think they said no to me so that I could take that, hold it, and turn it into something good. And so now I'm thinking about what I am being asked to do next. And she said, I'm excited. And this can happen when I get myself out of the way. You see, when my ego is really big and something bad happens or something happens that I really don't like, I hold on to that and I sit there and I get stuck. But if I can see it like Rabbi Mendel sees it, if I can see it as a gift from God, all the evil, the bad, the sorrowful stuff, if I can see them as gifts to turn it into something good, which is really what life is all about. You remember Joseph? Joseph, who got sold into slavery by his whānau, wow, becomes the prime minister of his country many years later, and then comes back to see the whānau that sold him into jail and threw him in a pit. And they're trembling because he's the prime minister and he has all the power in the world to throw them into jail or worse. He says, don't worry. What you meant for evil, God meant it for good. And this Rabbi Mendel is saying this to Jacob. What you think was meant for evil, because God was there all along, the idea is for you to turn it into something good. As Christians, sometimes we try to go, oh, evil is bad, put it away, I don't want to know it. I just want to have a transformational experience and just go from bad to good. No, I don't think that's how it works. I think how it works is we're supposed to hold on to the stuff that happens that's bad in our life, and through process of walking with God, turn it into good stuff. So that's him. Let's go to the last guy. What's the time? How are we going? I haven't even got... We good? All right. Let's go to the last guy. This guy blew me away. His name is Rabbi Saifoloi, and his big conversation was this: God moves with us. He gets Jacob to repeat what he said again, and Jacob says, well, when I woke up from the dream, I said, surely God was in this place all along, and I did not know. And Saifoloi says, do you know what the word surely means? Do you know in Hebrew what the word surely is? And Jacob goes, yeah, it's the word archain. The word archain. And Saifoloi goes, do you know that there's only one other place in the Old Testament where the word archain is used? And Jacob goes, no, I don't, because the guy who said that isn't born yet, because it was Ezekiel, see? So Saifoloi goes, well, I'll tell you, because I read his stuff, right? And that's the only other place where this word archain is used. Do you know what archain means? And Jacob goes, no. And he says, archain means, oh my God. Or a better way to say, oh my God, would be wow in our vernacular. Just wow. And so what you said, Jacob, is wow. God was here all along and I never knew. Okay, now, can we just go deep now for a little while? Because here's the thing. If you go to Ezekiel, and you read the first chapter of Ezekiel where this word archain is said, this is what you see. Can we chuck up that? All right. Yeah, whoa. Wow. This is a vision that Ezekiel had. And because Ezekiel in Ezekiel chapter 1 had this vision, the rabbis believe and use this word archain, the same word. The only other place where it's used is with Jacob. The rabbis believe that Jacob saw this as well. In the same dream, in the dream with the ladder. And so I want to just whip over, if I can, on this phone that's not mine. Anyway, no, I can't. So I'll just tell you. Okay. So Saifoloi says, what do you see? And Jacob says, well, I see wheels. But I see a wheel within a wheel, and the wheels have eyes. This is like a freaky thing. And then he says, and I see like a platform, and on top of that platform is someone amazing, awesome, possibly Yahweh, possibly. And he says, what else do you see? He says, I see these images, and there's actually 4 of them, and they have the face of an ox. They have the face of an eagle. They have the face of an ox, an eagle, a lion, and they have the face of a human. So this one figure has all those faces. Freaky stuff, right? And they are all they seem to be guarding this chariot, this extraterrestrial chariot-looking thing. And what he notices in this vision is that wherever the spirit that's sitting on top of this chariot wants to go, that knowledge is transferred immediately to the four beings with the four faces, and the chariot goes immediately in that direction, wherever it is, anywhere. And the way he describes it in Ezekiel is that these beings don't even move their head. They just stay like this, and whatever they feel the spirit that sits on top of the chariot is telling them to go, they just go there. And because the wheels are the way they are, they just go there. They just go anywhere. They go everywhere. This depiction is the Hebrew depiction for anybody that wants to behold God. If you say to a Hebrew person, I want to behold God, they will bring this picture up for you. If you want to see God, it's that. And it's called the chariot of God. The chariot of God. And so, this guy, Stropolis, says, now, check this out. Orchain, the Hebrew word orchain. How is it spelt? What letters are in there? And Jacob goes, oh, yeah. There are the three letters that make up the word orchain have the letter in it that depicts a lion, letter that depicts an ox, and a letter that depicts an eagle. And Astropola goes, very good, well done, what's missing? And he says, oh, the letter that depicts a man, it's not in there. And so Astropola says, what happens if there's only 3 wheels and not 4? And Jacob goes, well, if there's only 3 wheels and not 4, the chariot won't go anywhere. And Astropola says, exactly. So where is the human? And Jacob goes, he's not there. It's hopeless, he's not there, the chariot can't move. Astropola goes, wait, I want to show you something. What did you say again? And he goes, wow, God was here the whole time, and I, big I, little I, never knew. Astropola goes like this. You know that little I? That little I? He goes, yeah. You know the word for that little I is Enoki, right? Enoki. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, what are the letters in Enoki? Jacob is like, oh, there's 4 letters. Rabbi goes, yeah, there are. What are they? And he says, there's the letter for the lion, the letter for the ox, the letter for the eagle, and the letter for the human. And Astropola goes, what do you see? Jacob takes a deep breath. And he goes, are you saying that God doesn't get to move unless I'm there? Are you telling me, Astropola, that in centuries from now, one of my descendants discovers that God is unable to move unless I'm there? Astropola goes, yes. You see, that last letter in that word for I is a yod. In Jewish, it's called a yod. It's the last letter. But it's the first letter in Jacob's name, which is Yaakov. In other words, what the rabbi is saying is that the first letter of your name is the last letter of God's name. Yod is the last letter of God's name, but the first letter of Jacob's name. Jacob's like, what are you telling me? And he says, hey, us and God are made of the same stuff. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, created in God's image. We're made of the same stuff. It's a very Jewish way of saying that God doesn't get to move without us, the fourth face of each creature. So to summarize, Rabbi Yitaki says this: if I knew God was here, I wouldn't have gone to sleep. If you want to know God, wake up. Wake up. Be aware. Know that God is here. Rabbi Mendel says God will appear when your I disappears. And that's all about humility. Rabbi Ostropoulos says, wow, God was in this place all along, and I did not know it was I who carried him here. You know, I had to sit back and contemplate that for a bit. God was in this place all along, and I didn't know it was I who carried him here. Oneness. God has been riding with me my whole life. And if I believe what the rabbis are saying, it makes sense. Because if he can only move when I move, he can only go where I am. I was brought up in a generation that said if you go to the movies, God won't go there. You know, if the roof falls in, you'll be damned for life. The rabbis are telling me something different. Wherever you go, God goes. So what have we learned? A place is not barren because God isn't there. It only appears to be barren because our eyes are closed. Number 2, if we can set ourselves aside, we will not perish. We're so afraid to put ourselves aside. I am. We're so afraid to let the ego go down a bit because that's how we do things. But if we did that, then we would learn something about God. And finally, God moves when we move. So I sat back. I had finished my sermonizing, and I thought, yeah, it's done. I'm done. And I sat back and I was just looking at my screen and I thought, that's really cool. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll just grab those words that I got out of it because these are my words. These words aren't in the book. As I was reading the rabbis, these are the words that jumped out of me. Awareness, humility, and oneness. They also jumped out of me because I've just come from a Noho Marae. And Māoris are all about this. Awareness, humility, and oneness. And I thought, well, that's really, really cool. And I pulled those words out and I put them on there and I wrote them down. And I was just sitting back. And then I highlighted the first letters of each word. And you know that feeling, I don't know if you ever get this feeling, but as I was looking at those letters, the hair on the back of my neck started to creep up a little bit. And I started looking at that word, that acronym, which is AHO. And I thought, hey, nah. I don't even know if it had a meaning, but I thought, where have I heard that word? I've heard it somewhere. And as I thought about where I've heard it, I heard it on the marae. The word was often said during during a prayer. It was often said in song. It was often said in speaking. This word came out. And I started to think, And so I Googled the Māori dictionary and I put the word in. And can I read to you what came up? Aho is a noun. As a noun, says this. It refers to a string, a line or a chord, a means of discerning the future from a divine source. And I've just had my head in Jacob's ladder. This connection between us and God. And I've just been contemplating how God revealed the future to Jacob in this way. And then I find some words that mean something to me personally. And then I sit back and I find the first letters of those words, and it creates this word, and I put it into the dictionary, and this is what it says. And I'm just sharing with you. You can think what you like or whatever about that. But I'm just sharing with you that affected me immensely. And if we can become aware, and if we can explore the idea of humility, and if we can understand that God is everywhere that we go, because we're a chariot wheel of God, then maybe God will reveal something about himself to us. And maybe sometimes it comes in weird ways like this. And when I finished my little study and put it aside, and the other word that came to my mind was the word amazing. How amazing God is. I remember times in my life where I've gone, wow, God was in this place the whole time, and I never knew it. A few years ago, we took around, I think, 50 young people over to Samoa. And it was an amazing experience. We experienced God really, really being there. We got through a typhoon. We were going from the mainland, and I see Karen remembering all this. We were going from the mainland to a little island called, what's the name of the island? Where's Apu? Naumua. That's it, Naumua. And as we were going across, the weather reports were coming in, and they were saying there's a typhoon. And as we were halfway across, the typhoon blew in. And we all made it, and it was amazing. And it was Friday night. Sabbath was coming. And we were going to talk about forgiveness. Really, there were people in the group, including myself, that really, really needed to understand forgiveness. Really, really, really needed to receive it. Really needed to give it. Forgiveness. And just as we started worship, the typhoon hit. And it was so loud that we couldn't even hear William speaking. We couldn't hear him speaking. So a few of us shot out down the back, and we started praying, "Hey, our God, don't let Satan wreck this moment where we get to learn about forgiveness." And as soon as we started singing this song, which we're about to sing, the rain stopped. Everything stopped. Like, if you were there, you'd know. If you weren't there, you'd probably say, "Oh, whatever." And you had to be there. It just stopped. And then on our last night in Samoa, after lots of miracles, we were sitting in an upper room, if you like, and we started singing this song. And there was a power cut. Everything went out. But you know, when you're not full of yourself, it doesn't faze you. And by now, we had emptied ourselves of ourselves. And it didn't matter what happened. And one of the most memorable spiritual experiences in my lifetime is sitting in the pitch black space, singing, "Lord, I'm amazed by you. I'm amazed." Doesn't matter if there's power cuts, doesn't matter if there's typhoons, doesn't matter. When we're empty of ourselves, we just sit there, and like Jacob, we go, "Wow, God was here the whole time, and I never knew." And so I'm going to invite us all to empty ourselves of ourselves this morning as we sing, "Lord, I'm amazed by you." Shall we stand?
You dance over me while I am unaware. You sing all around Lord, I'm amazed by you and how you love me. Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you and how you love me. How wide, how deep, how great is your love for me. How wide, how deep, how great is your love for me. By you, Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you and how you love me. I'm amazed, Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you. Lord, I'm amazed by you and how you love me.
Amen. We're going to sing one more song before we leave today. And it's our prayer that you walk out of here aware, more aware of your surroundings. And maybe it may feel like sometimes you're surrounded by the things that are trying to bring you down and hold you back. But know that you are also surrounded by God. Not when you get to one side, but always, always. And so we're going to go out with this chant, this anthem together as before we walk out of here today. Is that all right? Awesome. All right, let's sing this, church.
This is how I fight my battles.
Come on, you know it.
This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight my battles. 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 It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded.
wake up like Jacob did as we come out of our slumber, as we start to realize some things about you that we never realized before. May we, like Jacob, stand in that place and just say, wow, you were here the whole time, and I never knew. And when we realize that, may we be able to empty ourselves of ourselves and in this way be of real value and real service to the community around about us. So thank you, Lord, for your revelations. Thank you for the way that you teach us and grow us. Thank you that we get to be a wheel in your kingdom. This is my prayer in your name. Amen.